The morning sunlight streamed through the small window of the modest house, touching the wooden floor with a warm glow. She woke up early, as she always did, even though today was not just any day. Today was the day she would marry the person she loved, the person who had promised to be by her side no matter what life threw at them. Excitement and nervousness mingled together, making her heart beat faster. She looked around the simple room, filled with a few pieces of furniture and a handful of personal belongings. There was no luxury here, no grand decoration, but it was home. It had been her safe place for as long as she could remember, a place where love and warmth existed even without wealth. As she got out of bed, she felt a mixture of joy and apprehension. She knew that her life was about to change forever. She had dreamed of this day, imagined it in every detail, from the gentle smile of her soon-to-be husband to the laughter of friends and family who would surround them. Yet she also knew that not everyone would celebrate her happiness. The person she feared the most was her stepmother. The woman had always looked at her with eyes that seemed to carry judgment, even disdain. It was not just dislike, it was an unspoken resentment that lingered in the air whenever they were in the same room. Her stepmother had never accepted her, never truly welcomed her into the family, and today she worried. Might be no different. She dressed carefully, choosing a simple gown that reflected her taste and personality. It was elegant in its simplicity, flowing and delicate, but not extravagant. She did not want to overshadow anyone or pretend to be someone she was not. Every time she fastened a button or adjusted a fold, she tried to calm the fluttering in her chest. She had faced challenges before, small humiliations and obstacles, but nothing like today. Today it was about love, about commitment, about stepping into a new chapter of her life. And yet there was a shadow of fear that she could not shake off entirely. She remembered the little snide remarks her stepmother had made over the past few weeks, comments about her appearance, her family, and her humble beginnings. Each one had stung, leaving invisible marks on her confidence. Her mother had passed away when she was very young. Her father, although kind, had remarried quickly. At first, she had hoped for a loving stepmother who could guide and support her, someone who would treat her as part of the family, but reality had been far from that. The stepmother, wealthy and proud, had made it clear in subtle and not-so-subtle ways that she saw her as inferior. It was a daily challenge to navigate the tension, to smile when insulted, to act gracious when belittled. And yet, she had survived it all with dignity. She had learned to keep her head high, to protect herself from words meant to wound. That resilience had grown quietly over the years, forming a strength she had not realized she possessed until now. Downstairs, the house was bustling with activity. The wedding was planned to be a modest affair, just family and close friends. But even so, there was a whirlwind of preparations. Chairs were being arranged, flowers carefully placed. The faint aroma of freshly baked bread and pastries filled the air. Her heart swelled as she imagined walking down the aisle surrounded by people who genuinely wished her happiness. Her fiancé was already at the venue, helping with the last-minute arrangements and checking that everything was perfect. He had always been thoughtful, never imposing, always encouraging her to be herself. His love had been a constant in her life, a beacon of hope that shone brighter than any fear or insecurity. She felt a surge of gratitude as she thought of him. He had loved her for who she was, never for her wealth or status, never for what she lacked in the eyes of others. But the thought of her stepmother brought a chill. She tried to push it away, focusing instead on the positive energy around her. Her closest friends arrived to help with the dressing and makeup. They laughed together, sharing memories of childhood, dreams for the future, and the excitement of the day ahead. Their presence was a comfort, a reminder that she was surrounded by people who valued her heart, her spirit, and her joy. As they pinned the last flowers into her hair and adjusted her dress, they whispered words of encouragement, assuring her that nothing could take away her happiness today. They reminded her that the love she shared with her fiancé was stronger than any cruelty, stronger than any attempt to humiliate or belittle her. Their words lifted her spirits, and for a moment, she let herself breathe, feeling a lightness she hadn't felt in a long time. The stepmother entered the room just then, and the air changed. She moved with an air of authority, glancing over the preparations with a critical eye. Her gaze fell on the bride, and for a moment, the warm atmosphere faltered. She smiled, but it was a smile that did not reach her eyes. There was something calculating in her expression, a subtle tension that the bride immediately recognized. She had seen that look many times before. It meant judgment. It meant disapproval. It meant that the stepmother was thinking of ways to assert control, to dominate, to remind everyone of her supposed superiority. The bride straightened her posture, taking a deep breath. She had learned to maintain composure in the face of cruelty, to meet disdain with dignity. But a small part of her heart sank. She knew that today the stepmother would have an audience, and that made her power over her more dangerous. The morning passed in a blur of activity. The bride moved from one task to another, checking details, ensuring that everything was ready for the ceremony. She laughed with her friends, tried on jewelry, and admired the simplicity and beauty of the arrangements. Her mind wandered to her fiancé, imagining the moment when he would see her walking toward him, imagining the look on his face, the pride and love that shone in his eyes. That thought brought a sense of calm, a shield against the anxiety that tried to creep in. Yet, she could not completely shake off the sense that something might go wrong. The stepmother's bitterness might find a way to disrupt the joy of the day. It was a fear she had carried for years, one she could not entirely dismiss. It lingered like a shadow in the corner of her heart. Finally, it was time to leave for the venue. The car waited outside, polished and elegant, but she barely noticed the luxury. Her focus was on the ceremony, on the promise she was about to make. Her friends helped her into the car, adjusting her dress, straightening her hair, not offering last-minute words of encouragement. The ride was quiet, filled with a mixture of excitement and contemplation. She looked out of the window at the passing scenery, noticing the way the sunlight played on the trees. The gentle sway of flowers in the wind, the ordinary beauty of the world around her. In that moment, she felt a strange sense of serenity. Despite the fear, despite the past, despite the unknown challenges ahead, she felt ready to step into the next chapter of her life as they arrived at the venue. She could see the preparations in full swing. Chairs lined up neatly, flowers arranged in delicate patterns, and the soft hum of anticipation in the air. Guests had begun to arrive, some familiar faces from her family and community, some distant relatives she barely knew. She felt a flutter of nerves but also a spark of joy. This was the moment she had waited for, the moment when love and hope would triumph over fear and cruelty. She walked toward the entrance with careful steps, holding her head high, her heart filled with a mixture of excitement, anxiety, and determination. The stepmother followed, her presence a silent warning, a reminder of the obstacles that still lingered. Inside, everything was ready. The hall glowed with warm light, and the scent of flowers mingled with the soft fragrance of candles. The bride took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle around her. She thought of the journey that had brought her here, the years of struggle, the moments of doubt, the times she had faced cruelty and come out stronger. She thought of her fiancés, waiting patiently, ready to share his life with her. And she thought of the choice she had made, to approach life with grace, to meet adversity with strength, to rise above the pettiness of others. In that moment, she felt a quiet sense of power, a realization that happiness was not just about wealth, appearance, or approval. It was about love, resilience, and the courage to remain true to oneself. And yet, even as she walked toward the center of the hall, she could not ignore the tension that lingered in the air. The stepmother's eyes followed her, calculating, critical, and waiting. The bride felt a flicker of apprehension, a reminder that not all battles were over, that not all challenges had been met. But she held her chin high, letting a soft smile grace her lips. She would face whatever came next with courage and dignity. She would not let cruelty steal the joy of her wedding day. And as the music began to play, signaling the start of the ceremony, she took a deep breath, ready to walk forward into her future, unaware that the day held surprises, both painful and transformative, that would test her strength and reveal the true nature of those around her. The excitement of the morning had barely settled when a settled tension began to creep back into the air. She had been so focused on the joy of the day that she almost forgot the presence of her stepmother. But the woman's sharp eyes never left her. observing every movement with a careful, calculating look. There was something in that gaze, a quiet storm waiting to break, and the girl could feel it, like a faint chill down her spine. She tried to shake it off, focusing on the laughter and chatter around her, the soft music, and the scent of flowers that filled the room. She reminded herself that today was about love, and no one could take that away. The stepmother, meanwhile, moved about with an air of authority, pretending to offer help while her mind plotted silently. She watched the girl adjust her gown, smooth her hair, and glanced nervously toward the venue. Her smile was practiced, but her eyes were sharp, glinting with a cruel satisfaction that the girl could almost sense. This was not just a woman supervising a wedding. This was a woman determined to leave her mark, to show everyone present that she had power, that she could control the narrative, that she could make the bride feel small, even on her happiest day. It started with small remarks, subtle enough to be overlooked by others, but cutting deeply for the girl. "Be careful with the flowers," she said softly with a hint of mockery. "Wouldn't want your hands to get dirty. That would be so embarrassing, wouldn't it?" The words were mild to the ear, but the intention behind them was sharp and deliberate. The girl smiled politely, her stomach twisting. She had been through such moments countless times before, learning to meet them with calm, to avoid giving the stepmother the satisfaction of a reaction. Yet inside her heart raced. The fear of what might come next lingered like a shadow she could not shake. As the ceremony drew closer, stepmother's plan began to take shape. She knew that one carefully timed act could humiliate the girl in front of all the guests, leaving a memory that would linger far beyond the wedding day. It was a cruel thought, and yet it brought her a twisted sense of satisfaction. She told herself it was simply a joke, a small mishap that would make everyone laugh. But deep down she knew it was far more than that. She had chosen her moment carefully, waiting until the bride was distracted, surrounded by friends, busy with preparations. The perfect opportunity arose when the girl bent down to adjust a piece of her dress. Unaware that her stepmother was approaching with a cup of steaming hot tea in hand, the moment happened so quickly that it felt almost surreal. The stepmother's hand trembled ever so slightly as she accidentally tipped the cup. The hot liquid splashed over the girl's hand and wrist. The pain was immediate, sharp, and searing. She jerked back, instinctively pulling her hand away, a cry of shock escaping her lips. Her friends rushed to her side, alarmed by the sudden accident. The room erupted into panic and confusion, everyone trying to understand what had happened. The bride's hand throbbed painfully, the heat leaving a sting that seemed to burn through more than just her skin. The stepmother feigned shock and concern, her face a mask of innocence. "Oh dear, I didn't mean to," she exclaimed, her voice trembling just enough to seem believable. "I was just trying to help and the cup slipped. Are you okay?" Her words were calculated, her tone perfectly practiced to deflect blame. The guests and friends, seeing her worry, began to believe it was a simple accident. No one suspected the malice behind the act, and that was exactly what she intended. Despite the pain, the girl forced herself to remain composed. She knew that losing control would only give her stepmother the satisfaction she craved. She pressed a cool cloth to her burned hand, trying to calm the sting while hiding the swelling and redness from the guests. Her mind raced, trying to focus on the ceremony ahead, on the promise of love that awaited her, on the support of her fiancé, who had been her anchor through every storm. She felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes, but she swallowed them back, refusing to let them fall. Her friends surrounded her, offering comfort and practical help. They guided her to a chair, gently examining her hand and assuring her that everything would be okay. One of them whispered words of encouragement, reminding her that this was not her fault, that she was strong, that nothing could take away her happiness today. The support warmed her heart, giving her the courage to face the next moments with grace. She realized that love and loyalty were far more powerful than cruelty, and that thought became her shield against the stepmother's malicious intentions. Meanwhile, the stepmother watched with satisfaction, believing she had succeeded. She imagined the whispers and judgments that would follow, the way everyone would remember this small humiliation. But what she did not anticipate was the quiet resilience that had been cultivated in the girl over the years. The bride's calm composure, the way she managed the situation without panic, without anger, began to turn the tide subtly. Guests noticed her grace under pressure, her ability to remain dignified even in the face of pain. The stepmother's plan, designed to embarrass, began to unravel before her eyes. Though she did not yet see it, the groom, noticing the situation, moved closer to his bride. His eyes reflected concern, his hand steadying hers, offering warmth and support. He whispered reassurances, reminding her that she was not alone, that they would face everything together. The bride felt a wave of gratitude and love, and for a moment, the pain of the burn seemed almost secondary to the strength she drew from his presence. It was in that moment she realized that true strength was not the absence of fear or pain, but the ability to continue moving forward despite them as the wedding preparations resumed. The girl's friends worked tirelessly to adjust her gown, hide the burn with careful folds, and ensure she still looked radiant. The stepmother hovered nearby, pretending to assist while secretly plotting the next move, but her influence was waning. Each act of support from friends and loved ones chipped away at her control. The bride's confidence, though shaken, began to rebuild with each passing moment. She remembered all the challenges she had faced in her life, the times she had been underestimated, dismissed, or mistreated, and how she had emerged stronger each time. This thought became her armor, a reminder that she could endure, and that cruelty could not define her. The ceremony started, and the atmosphere shifted. The guests, unaware of the hidden tensions, admired the beauty and poise of the bride. She moved gracefully, her smile genuine, radiating happiness despite the earlier incident. The stepmother's presence, once commanding, seemed almost irrelevant in comparison to the warmth and love surrounding the bride. Every glance, every whisper of admiration, reinforced the idea that kindness and resilience could outshine malice and jealousy. As she walked down the aisle, memories of past struggles flashed through her mind, the years of dealing with judgment, the moments of doubt, the silent endurance of cruelty. But those memories no longer held power over her. Today, she realized she was defined not by the actions of others, but by her own strength, her own grace, and the love she shared with her partner. The stepmother's cruel act, intended to humiliate, had instead highlighted the bride's courage and resilience. It became a turning point, a moment that revealed the true character of those involved, and set the stage for the unfolding events that would continue to challenge, but ultimately uplift her. The morning had begun with hope, and despite the shadow of cruelty, it continued with quiet triumph. The bride had faced the first real challenge of the day, and she had done so with courage, dignity, and grace. The hot tea incident, intended to hurt, had instead strengthened the bonds of love and friendship around her. The stage was set for the wedding, but more importantly, it was set for a deeper understanding that true strength is revealed not in moments of ease, but in moments of challenge, and that kindness, patience, and resilience could overcome even the most carefully planned acts of malice. The guests settled into their seats, unaware of the small drama that had taken place behind the scenes. The bride took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the day and the significance of the moment. She was ready to face whatever came next, knowing that love and inner strength would guide her through the trials that awaited. And in the quiet corners of the room, the stepmother watched, unaware that her carefully laid plans had begun to unravel, and that the girl she had sought to humiliate was already proving to be stronger, braver, and more radiant than she had ever imagined. The bride stood in the center of the softly lit hall, taking in the gentle murmur of the guests, the floral arrangements that filled the air with a delicate fragrance, and the warm sunlight filtering through the windows. The burn on her hand still throbbed, a painful reminder of the stepmother's cruelty, but she refused to let it define her. She had faced humiliation before in her life, moments when words or actions had tried to diminish her, but she had survived each one. Today was no different, she told herself. Today, she would not allow anyone to steal her joy. Her friends continued to support her, adjusting the folds of her gown, helping her with small details, and whispering words of encouragement. Each act of kindness reminded her that she was not alone, that she had people around her who genuinely cared for her well-being. She felt a surge of gratitude and warmth, realizing that true support was far more valuable than wealth or status. The stepmother, who had hoped to dominate the morning with her presence, was gradually losing control. Her calculated smile began to falter as she noticed the bride standing tall, composed, and even radiant, despite the earlier accident. The bride's fiancé entered the room quietly, carrying a sense of calm and reassurance. He gently took her hand, careful not to touch the burned area too roughly, and whispered soft words of comfort. His voice, filled with love and sincerity, reminded her of everything that mattered: the bond they shared, the promises they had made, and the life they were about to begin together. She looked into his eyes and felt a wave of strength flow through her. This was not just a day for appearances. It was a day that reflected the depth of their love, the resilience of their hearts, and the courage to face challenges together. The stepmother watched from a distance, her expression a mixture of frustration and disbelief. She had expected the bride to crumble, to show signs of weakness or embarrassment. But instead, she saw someone who refused to yield. The girl's poise, her quiet confidence, the way she handled the pain with grace, began to shift the attention away from the small act of cruelty. The guests, oblivious to the behind-the-scenes tension, admired the bride's elegance, her ability to smile despite discomfort, and her calm demeanor. The stepmother realized, perhaps too late, that true strength could not be manufactured or imposed. It was something that shone naturally from within, and the bride's light was difficult to overshadow as the ceremony approached. The bride was led to a quieter corner to rest and tend to her hand. The burn was wrapped carefully with a soft cloth, and a friend applied a soothing balm to ease the pain. The girl winced as the warmth of the ointment touched the sensitive skin, but she refused to cry out. Every step of the way, she reminded herself that this day was about more than suffering. It was about love, courage, and perseverance. She thought about all the obstacles she had overcome in her life, the moments of rejection, the times she had been underestimated, and the countless instances when she had been made to feel inferior. Each memory reinforced her resolve. She was no longer the powerless girl she had once been. She was strong, capable, and ready to embrace the future. In that quiet moment, an unexpected source of support arrived. A distant relative, someone she had only met a few times, approached her with a gentle smile. They had heard about the incident with the hot tea and had come to offer comfort and assistance. Their presence was a reminder that not everyone judged her by the circumstances of her birth or the petty jealousy of others. Some people saw her for who she truly was, kind, brave, and deserving of happiness. The relative helped adjust her dress, offered a comforting hand on her shoulder, and whispered words of encouragement that lifted her spirits even higher. It was a small gesture, but in that moment, it felt like a shield against the stepmother's lingering influence. The bride's friends and family continued to rally around her, creating a network of support that began to outweigh the negativity of the stepmother. Every encouraging word, every gentle touch, every act of kindness strengthened the bride's resolve. She realized that strength was not about facing challenges alone. It was about allowing others to stand with you, to share the burden, and to help you rise above adversity. This realization filled her with a quiet confidence that radiated through her entire being. As the minutes passed, the bride's confidence grew. She practiced her walk down the aisle in her mind, imagining herself moving gracefully, holding her head high and smiling genuinely. She pictured the expressions of her loved ones, the warmth of their support, and the proud look in her fiancé's eyes. These thoughts became a source of energy, fueling her determination to face whatever came next. The earlier incident with the hot tea intended to humiliate her now seemed like a small obstacle, a test she had already begun to pass. Meanwhile, the stepmother's demeanor began to shift. Her calculated expressions of concern and authority were met with calm defiance from the bride. The more she tried to control the atmosphere, the less influence she seemed to have. The bride's quiet strength, coupled with the visible support of friends and family, created an invisible barrier that the stepmother could not penetrate. Every step the bride took, every composed gesture, was a reminder that cruelty could not dominate courage and kindness. The groom stayed close throughout this time, offering practical help and emotional support. He adjusted the bride's gown, ensured she was comfortable, and gently encouraged her to focus on the joy of the day rather than the pain of the burn. His calm presence was a steady anchor, grounding her and reminding her of the partnership they were about to formalize. Together, they shared small smiles, quiet laughter, and whispered words of love that strengthened their bond. It reinforced the sense of unity that would carry them through the day. The hall, now filled with guests, began to settle into a sense of anticipation. The bride could hear the soft rustle of dresses, the quiet hum of conversations, and the occasional laughter of children playing nearby. These ordinary sounds, so simple and familiar, provided a comforting backdrop to the tension she had faced. They reminded her that life was made up of small moments, and that even in the face of cruelty, there were countless opportunities for joy, connection, and love. She took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the room and the support of everyone around her, and allowed herself to relax slightly. Knowing that she was not alone in this journey, her mind wandered briefly to the stepmother, wondering what she might be planning next. The woman's presence was a constant reminder that not all challenges were visible, that malice could be hidden behind polite words and careful gestures. But the bride refused to dwell on fear. She had learned that focusing on the negative only gave it power. Instead, she concentrated on the love that surrounded her, the genuine support of her friends and family, and the promise of the life she was about to begin with her partner. This focus, this conscious decision to embrace positivity and strength, became a shield that allowed her to navigate the remaining moments before the ceremony with grace. As the time for the wedding approached, the bride prepared to move toward the aisle. Her hand, though still tender, was carefully covered, and she felt a quiet sense of accomplishment. She had faced the first real test of the day with courage, and in doing so, she had discovered a deeper layer of her own strength. The small act of cruelty that had threatened to overshadow her joy had instead highlighted her resilience, her ability to remain composed, and the unwavering support of those who truly cared for her. The stepmother, observing from a distance, could sense that her influence was waning. The bride's quiet confidence, combined with the visible support of loved ones, begun to shift the atmosphere in the hall. The more she tried to assert control, the less effective her actions seemed. It was a subtle but powerful shift, one that the bride had achieved simply by being herself, by embracing kindness, courage, and inner strength. Finally, the moment arrived for the bride to make her way to the aisle. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of anticipation and excitement mingling with the remnants of pain from the burn. Her friends and family offered final words of encouragement, her smiles and gestures reinforcing the sense of community and love that surrounded her. She stepped forward, each movement deliberate and graceful, holding her head high and her heart full as she walked. She noticed the expressions of the guests' admiration, warmth, and genuine happiness for her. The stepmother, for all her pride and intentions, could not dampen this moment. The bride's poise and strength were undeniable, a living testament to the power of resilience and the support of those who truly cared. She realized that this day, despite its challenges, would be remembered not for the cruelty she had faced, but for the courage, love, and determination she had shown. With each step, the bride felt lighter, stronger, and more certain of her ability to face whatever came next. The ceremony was about to begin, and with it, a new chapter of life. One defined not by fear or malice, but by love, support, and unwavering courage. In that moment, she understood that true happiness could not be stolen by others, and that even in the presence of cruelty, one could rise, shine, and embrace the beauty of life with an open heart. The soft hum of conversation filled the hall as the bride adjusted her gown one last time, taking a moment to steady her breathing. The earlier incident with the hot tea still burned slightly against her skin, a reminder of the cruelty that had attempted to overshadow her day. But instead of letting it weigh her down, she drew strength from it. Every moment she had endured in life, every slight and every challenge, had prepared her for this day. She had faced hardship before, and she had always found a way to rise. Today was no different. Today she would continue forward with her head held high, and nothing, not even her stepmother's malice, could change that just then. An unexpected presence arrived, a figure who had quietly observed the household dynamics over the years, but rarely intervened. A trusted family friend, someone known for their wisdom and calm demeanor, stepped forward with a kind smile. They had heard of the accident and came not to judge but to help. The bride felt a wave of relief wash over her. It was a reminder that there were people who saw her heart, who understood her struggles, and who genuinely wanted to ensure she was safe and comfortable. This support, simple yet profound, made her feel seen, valued, and protected. The family friend gently examined her hand, checking the burn to ensure it was treated properly. They offered advice on how to soothe the pain and prevent any lasting damage. It was practical guidance, but it carried with it a sense of care and compassion that went far beyond the physical. The bride felt her tension ease as she listened, realizing that not all battles had to be fought alone. Sometimes help came quietly, offered by those who truly cared, and it was a reminder that vulnerability could coexist with strength, while the friend tended to her. The bride's fiancé stood close, his presence steady and reassuring. He adjusted her dress, ensured she was comfortable, and whispered words of encouragement. His calm voice, full of love and understanding, reminded her that she was not alone in facing adversity. Together, they shared small smiles and quiet laughter, moments that seemed ordinary but carried profound meaning. These gestures, simple and unassuming, reminded the bride that love was a powerful force capable of overcoming fear, pain, and cruelty around them. Friends and family rallied to offer support as well. They helped with the final adjustments to her gown, carefully arranging the folds and ensuring every detail was perfect. They whispered encouragement, reminding her of her strength and grace, and assured her that she looked radiant. Their presence was a tangible reminder that she was not defined by the cruelty of others, but by the love and care that surrounded her. Each act of kindness, each thoughtful gesture, became a shield, protecting her from the lingering shadows of the morning's incident. The stepmother, who had hoped to dominate the morning with her presence and malice, began to sense that her control was slipping. The bride's composure, bolstered by the support of those around her, made it increasingly difficult for the stepmother to assert influence. Every attempt to intervene, to criticize, or to undermine, was met with quiet confidence and dignity. The guests, unaware of the full extent of the stepmother's intentions, admired the bride's elegance and poise. The contrast between the bride's grace and the stepmother's simmering frustration became evident, and the atmosphere began to shift subtly in favor of the bride. As the ceremony approached, the bride focused on her breathing, centering herself in the moment. She visualized the walk down the aisle, imagining herself moving gracefully, holding her head high and smiling genuinely. She thought about the expressions of her loved ones, the warmth of their support, and the proud look in her fiancé's eyes. These thoughts became a source of strength, reinforcing her determination to face the ceremony with courage and composure. The incident with the hot tea, which had been intended to humiliate her, now felt like a distant challenge she had already begun to overcome. The family friend offered practical advice on how to manage the remaining moments before the ceremony. They suggested simple techniques to ease anxiety, ways to focus attention on the positive, and methods to channel nervous energy into confidence. The bride listened intently, absorbing each word and applying it immediately. She realized that preparation was not just about appearances or logistics, but about mental and emotional readiness. The ability to maintain calm and focus under pressure was a skill she had honed over years of navigating life's challenges, and now it was proving invaluable. The guests continued to arrive, filling the hall with warmth and anticipation. Children ran quietly among the seats, their laughter adding a gentle joy to the atmosphere. Friends and family exchanged greetings, sharing smiles and congratulations. The bride observed it all, feeling a sense of connection and belonging that strengthened her resolve. She realized that these moments, the ordinary interactions and shared happiness, or what made life meaningful. They were proof that even in the presence of cruelty, kindness and love could flourish. Her fiancés remained by her side. Offering practical help and emotional support, he adjusted her veil, ensured her gown was perfectly arranged, and held her hand gently. Their connection was unspoken but deeply understood, a bond built on trust, love, and shared experiences. He reminded her through words and gestures that she was not facing this day alone, and that together they could navigate any challenge. His presence was a constant reassurance, a reminder that love could provide stability and strength. Even in uncertain moments, the stepmother's attempts to regain control became increasingly obvious, though ineffective. Her subtle criticisms and calculated gestures were met with polite composure from the bride, whose inner strength seemed to grow with each passing moment. The support of friends, family, and her fiancé created an invisible barrier around her, protecting her from the stepmother's influence. Every act of kindness she received reinforced her confidence, reminding her that resilience was not just about enduring hardship, but about embracing the support of those who genuinely cared. The bride's mind wandered briefly to the future she was about to enter. She thought about the life she would share with her partner, the home they would build together, and the values they would uphold. She realized that the challenges of the morning, while painful, had reinforced the importance of love, kindness, and resilience. They had shown her that strength was not about domination or cruelty, but about compassion, courage, and the ability to rise above adversity. These reflections filled her with a quiet sense of empowerment, readiness to embrace whatever came next. As the time for the ceremony approached, the bride felt a mixture of excitement and serenity. The burn on her hand, though still tender, no longer dominated her thoughts. She had faced the morning's challenge with courage and dignity, and in doing so, she had discovered a deeper layer of her own strength. The support she had received from friends, family, and her fiancé reinforced the idea that no obstacle was insurmountable when faced with love and resilience. She took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the room and the collective energy of those who cared for her. The ceremony space was prepared, and the guests had taken their seats. The soft lighting and floral arrangements created an atmosphere of warmth and celebration. The bride felt a surge of confidence as she observed the beauty of the setting, the smiles of the guests, and the love that surrounded her. Every detail, every gesture, every moment contributed to a sense of unity and joy that no act of cruelty could diminish. She realized that the day was not defined by the stepmother's intentions, but by the love, support, and resilience that had carried her through the morning. Her fiancés offered a final, reassuring smile, holding her hand gently and guiding her toward the aisle. The bride took a deep breath, feeling the anticipation and excitement build. She was ready to step forward, to embrace the next chapter of her life, and to face the ceremony with grace and confidence. The journey through the morning's challenges had strengthened her, revealed her inner courage, and reminded her of the power of love and support. The stepmother, realizing that her control had slipped further, tried one last time to assert authority, but her presence now seemed almost irrelevant, overshadowed by the bride's composure and the visible support of those around her. The guests, unaware of the underlying tension, admired the bride's elegance and poise. The contrast between the bride's resilience and the stepmother's frustration became increasingly clear, highlighting the power of inner strength over malice. As the bride prepared to walk down the aisle, she felt a profound sense of clarity. The morning had tested her, challenged her, and reminded her of life's uncertainties. Yet through it all, she had remained true to herself, embraced the support of loved ones, and discovered a deeper well of strength. The incident with the hot tea intended to humiliate had instead reinforced her resilience and highlighted the importance of kindness, courage, and love. With a final breath, she stepped forward, ready to face the ceremony. Each movement was deliberate and graceful, each step a testament to her courage and composure. She held her head high, her heart full, and her spirit unbroken. The support of friends, family, and her fiancé surrounded her, creating an invisible shield against any lingering negativity. In that moment, she understood that true happiness and strength were not dependent on the absence of adversity, but on the ability to rise above it with grace and courage. The soft music began to play, signaling the start of the ceremony. The bride walked slowly, confidently, and gracefully, her every step radiating dignity and poise. The guests turned their attention to her, admiring her beauty, strength, and composure. The stepmother, for all her wealth and pride, could not diminish the bride's radiance or the admiration she inspired. The morning's trials had become a proving ground, a stage upon which the bride's inner strength shone brighter than any act of malice. The moment had finally arrived. The soft melodic music filled the hall as the guests turned their attention toward the aisle. Every eye was on the bride, who walked forward with quiet confidence, her gown flowing gracefully behind her. She could feel the weight of the day, the culmination of months of preparation, and the anticipation of a life she was about to begin with her partner. The earlier incident with the hot tea, which had caused her pain and embarrassment, now seemed almost distant. It had been a trial, yes, but one she had endured with composure, and it had revealed something important. Her strength was greater than any attempt to diminish her. The guests' reactions were immediate. Whispers of admiration spread through the crowd as they noticed her elegance, the calm determination in her eyes, and the gentle grace with which she moved. She had always been considered kind and gentle, but today those qualities were amplified by resilience and courage. The subtle injuries from the burn were hidden beneath carefully folded fabric and soothing ointments, invisible to the world, but her strength shone far brighter than any physical mark could. She realized in that moment that true beauty was not only in appearance, but in the way one handled life's challenges with dignity and composure. The stepmother, who had expected to revel in the bride's humiliation, felt a surge of frustration as she watched her plans unravel. Her calculated efforts, meant to draw attention to the girl's misfortune, instead highlighted the bride's inner strength. The more she tried to assert her presence, to influence the room, the less effective she became. She watched as the bride's friends, family, and fiancés offered support and encouragement, creating a shield that no amount of manipulation could penetrate. The stepmother realized, perhaps too late, that true influence came not from fear or control, but from respect and admiration, which she had never earned. The bride's fiancé stood at the front, a pillar of calm and reassurance. He smiled gently as she approached, his eyes reflecting pride, love, and admiration. He had witnessed her strength in the quiet moments before the ceremony, how she had handled pain and humiliation with grace. Now he saw it on display for everyone, and it deepened his respect and love for her even further. When she reached his side, he took her hand, careful to avoid her still tender burn, and gave it a gentle squeeze. It was a small gesture, but it carried profound meaning, a silent promise of partnership, trust, and shared strength. The officiant began the ceremony, their voice warm and inviting, guiding the couple and the guests through the process. The bride listened intently, focusing on the words that spoke of love, commitment, and partnership. She realized that this was more than a formal ritual. It was a celebration of all she had endured, a recognition of her courage, and a declaration of the life she and her fiancé would build together. Every vow, every promise, every gesture carried weight and significance, reinforcing the strength she had discovered within herself. As the ceremony continued, the bride noticed subtle shifts in the room. Guests who had previously whispered among themselves now looked on with admiration, not just for her beauty, but for the way she carried herself despite the morning's challenges. Even distant relatives who had only known her superficially seemed to sense her resilience. It was a quiet acknowledgement, a collective recognition that strength and grace were often revealed not in moments of ease, but in moments of challenge. The stepmother, still hoping to assert some influence, attempted a small act of interference. She made a faint comment, meant to draw attention to the bride's earlier misfortune, but it fell flat. The bride's calm composure, coupled with the visible support of loved ones, rendered the attempt ineffective. The guests barely noticed, and those who did quickly shifted their focus back to the ceremony. The stepmother's frustration grew, her sense of control slipping further with every passing moment. She had underestimated the bride's resilience and the strength of the network that surrounded her. When it was time for the exchange of vows, the bride spoke with sincerity and clarity. Her voice, steady and full of emotion, conveyed love, commitment, and the depth of her feelings. She acknowledged the challenges they had faced together, the support they had received from friends and family, and the promise of a shared future built on trust, respect, and understanding. Her words resonated with everyone present, capturing hearts and drawing admiration. The stepmother, once confident in her ability to overshadow the bride, realized that no words or actions could diminish this moment of genuine connection and love. The groom's vows mirrored the sincerity and depth of the bride's. He spoke of love, loyalty, and partnership, highlighting the courage and grace he had witnessed in his bride throughout the day. His words were not merely promises. They were reflections of the journey they had shared and the life they were about to begin. The exchange of vows created a powerful sense of unity, not just between the couple, but among all those present. It was a shared experience of love and resilience, a reminder that life's challenges could be met with courage and dignity. As the ceremony progressed, the bride noticed the subtle gestures of support from those around her. A relative quietly adjusted her veil to ensure it was perfect. A friend offered a reassuring smile, and her fiancé's hand remained a steady anchor. These acts, small but significant, reinforced the idea that love and support could overcome even the most carefully planned attempts at humiliation. The bride felt a sense of empowerment, realizing that the morning's challenges had prepared her for this moment. She understood that strength was not about eliminating obstacles, but about facing them with grace, courage, and the support of those who truly cared. The climax of the ceremony approached, and the couple exchanged rings as symbols of their commitment. The bride slipped the ring onto her partner's finger, feeling a surge of joy and anticipation. She realized that this act, simple yet profound, represented more than just a promise. It symbolized resilience, the triumph of love over cruelty, and the power of grace under pressure. The guests, witnessing this exchange, responded with warm applause, their admiration evident. The stepmother, despite her efforts to dominate the moment, could not diminish the significance of this act or the joy it inspired, as the officiant pronounced them officially married. The bride and groom shared a gentle, heartfelt kiss. It was a moment of pure emotion, a culmination of love, resilience, and triumph over adversity. The guests erupted in applause and cheers, celebrating not just the union, but the courage and strength that had carried the bride through the morning's challenges. The stepmother's influence, once so carefully calculated, had been rendered powerless. The bride's poise, grace, and inner strength had transformed what could have been a moment of humiliation into a moment of triumph. After the ceremony, the couple walked down the aisle together, greeted by smiles, congratulations, and warm embraces. The bride felt a profound sense of accomplishment, realizing that she had navigated the day with dignity and courage. She reflected on the morning's events, understanding that the attempt to humiliate her had revealed her own strength and the unwavering support of those who cared for her. Every step she took reinforced the idea that true power lay not in malice or control, but in resilience, kindness, and the ability to remain true to oneself. The reception that followed was filled with laughter, music, and celebration. The bride moved through the crowd, receiving congratulations and well wishes, her smile genuine and radiant. She noticed the way guests admired not only her appearance, but her composure, her grace, and the strength she had demonstrated throughout the day. The stepmother, now subdued and increasingly isolated, could no longer command attention or influence the mood. The bride's inner strength and the support of her loved ones had shifted the focus, leaving the stepmother's malice irrelevant. During the reception, small moments of care and thoughtfulness continued to reinforce the bride's sense of empowerment. A friend discreetly offered assistance with refreshments, ensuring she remained comfortable, while another relative offered words of praise for her resilience. Her fiancé remained attentive, guiding her through the crowd, offering support and love with every gesture. These acts, though simple, created a tapestry of care and support that highlighted the power of community and love in overcoming adversity. The bride realized that the morning's challenges had not diminished the day, but had enhanced it. The hot tea incident, intended to humiliate, had revealed the depth of her resilience, the strength of her support network, and the genuine admiration of those around her. It had shown her that, even in the face of cruelty, she could maintain grace, poise, and dignity, transforming a potential moment of shame into a demonstration of courage and strength. As the evening drew near, the couple shared quiet moments together, reflecting on the day and the journey that had brought them here. They spoke of love, resilience, and the importance of support from friends and family. The bride felt a profound sense of gratitude, recognizing that the day's events had reinforced the value of inner strength, kindness, and courage. She understood that the true triumph was not simply the successful completion of the wedding, but the demonstration of resilience in the face of adversity. The stepmother, now visibly frustrated and isolated, could do little to influence the celebrations. Her carefully laid plans had failed, and the bride's inner strength had outshone her malice. Guests began to notice the contrast. The quiet power of resilience versus the fruitless attempts at control. The stepmother's presence became increasingly irrelevant. It was a subtle yet profound shift, highlighting the transformative power of courage, grace, and genuine support. As the night wore on, the couple celebrated with laughter, dancing, and shared joy. The bride moved with ease, fully embracing the moment, her spirit unburdened by the earlier attempts at humiliation. She realized that the day had become a testament to the power of love, resilience, and community. The trials of the morning had been transformed into a celebration of strength, courage, and the triumph of grace over cruelty. The reception continued late into the evening, filled with warmth, connection, and genuine celebration. The bride's journey through the morning's challenges had culminated in a day of triumph, a vivid demonstration of the power of resilience and love. She understood that life would continue to present challenges, but she now carried a deeper sense of confidence and strength. Reinforced by the events of the day and the unwavering support of those around her, the evening had settled into a soft, golden glow as the couple left the hall, hand in hand. Stepping into the crisp air of the courtyard, the music and laughter of the reception still floated behind them, a comforting reminder of the joy they had just shared. The bride inhaled deeply, feeling the cool night air fill her lungs and calm the lingering tension from the day. Her hand, still tender from the morning's accident, rested gently in her fiancé's grasp, and for the first time since the ceremony began, she allowed herself to truly relax. The trials of the day, the humiliation she had feared, and the stepmother's malicious attempts seemed distant now, as if they had been a shadow that could not follow her into the light she had finally stepped into. Walking together, the couple found a quiet corner where they could pause and reflect. The bride's mind replayed the events of the day, the anxiety of the morning, the sting of the hot tea, the moments of tension when her stepmother's presence threatened to overshadow her happiness. Yet, despite it all, she realized how resilient she had been, how supported she was, and how much love surrounded her. The pain and fear of earlier hours had been transformed into triumph and pride, proof that courage and grace could withstand even the most deliberate attempts to harm or humiliate. Her fiancé squeezed her hand gently, his eyes reflecting pride and admiration. "You were incredible today," he said softly. "Every step, every gesture, every word, you handled it all with so much strength. I've never been more proud." The bride smiled, her eyes moist with emotion. She realized that the day had tested her not just physically but emotionally, challenging her patience, her confidence, and her resilience. And yet, here she was, standing tall, her dignity intact, and her heart full of love. The realization brought a sense of calm and accomplishment that made the moment feel sacred. Back inside, reception had reached its peak. Guests were laughing, dancing, and celebrating the union of the couple with genuine joy. The bride and groom's happiness was infectious, spreading through the crowd, lifting the spirits of everyone present. She noticed the way friends and relatives came forward to offer kind words, small gifts, and heartfelt congratulations. Each gesture reinforced the sense that love, support, and community were far more powerful than cruelty, judgment, or jealousy. The morning's incident, which had seemed so threatening, now felt almost trivial in the context of the overwhelming warmth and affirmation surrounding her. The stepmother, meanwhile, had become increasingly quiet and withdrawn. Her attempts to dominate the day, to assert her influence, and to cast the bride in a negative light had failed. She watched from the edges of the crowd, her expression a mixture of frustration, disbelief, and resignation. The bride's strength, composed demeanor, and the visible support of her friends and family had rendered her presence irrelevant. She could no longer manipulate the mood, diminish the joy, or undermine the celebration. The power she had hoped to wield had dissolved, leaving her to witness the triumph of resilience and love. Throughout the evening, small acts of kindness and support continued to reinforce the bride's sense of empowerment. Friends helped her navigate the dance floor, adjusted her gown with gentle care, offered words of encouragement whenever she felt a flicker of fatigue or discomfort. Her fiancé remained a constant source of reassurance, guiding her through the crowd, sharing quiet smiles, and offering steady companionship. The bride realized that this network of love and support was more valuable than any material wealth or social status. It was proof that resilience, courage, kindness were the true foundations of a fulfilled life. The bride took a quiet moment to reflect on the journey that had brought her to this day. She remembered the challenges she had faced growing up, the subtle and not so subtle moments of judgment and cruelty, and the times she had been underestimated or dismissed. Each experience had shaped her, taught her patience, and cultivated the inner strength that now allowed her to face adversity with grace. The morning's incident with the hot tea had been a continuation of those challenges, a final test before stepping fully into the next chapter of her life. And she had passed it with dignity, proving to herself and to everyone around her that resilience and courage could overcome malice and fear. The bride's thoughts turned briefly to her stepmother. She recognized that the woman's actions stemmed from pride, jealousy, and a desire for control. Yet, she no longer felt anger or resentment. The stepmother's attempts to harm her had failed, and the bride had emerged stronger, more confident, and fully supported by those who truly mattered. She understood that forgiveness, not out of obligation, but as an act of liberation, was the path forward. Holding on to anger or bitterness would only weigh her down, while letting go allowed her to move freely into her new life with joy and clarity. As the night wore on, the couple shared quiet moments together, away from the crowd. They spoke of love, resilience, and the lessons they had learned through the day's events. The bride realized that true partnership was not only about sharing joy, but also about facing challenges together, supporting each other through trials, and celebrating victories both big and small. Her fiancé's unwavering support had been a constant reminder that love was an active, nurturing force, capable of sustaining them through any adversity. The reception continued with music and dancing, each moment reinforcing the sense of unity, celebration, and triumph. The bride moved through the crowd with grace, her confidence growing with every smile, every compliment, and every gesture of support. She noticed the subtle admiration in the eyes of those who had doubted her, the respect of friends and family who had witnessed her resilience, and the genuine happiness of the guests who were present to celebrate love and commitment. It was a powerful affirmation that courage, kindness, and inner strength were qualities that could not be overshadowed or diminished by malice. The stepmother, increasingly isolated, watched as the bride's light shone brighter with every passing moment. Her attempts to control the day, to assert dominance, and to humiliate had all failed. The bride's composure, grace, and resilience had turned potential shame into a demonstration of strength, leaving the stepmother powerless. The guests, sensing the contrast, admired the bride's courage and dignity, further reinforcing the idea that true influence came not from cruelty or control, but from integrity, kindness, and resilience. Throughout the evening, The bride continued to receive small gestures of support from those around her. A friend discreetly offered a glass of water, ensuring she remained comfortable, while a relative adjusted her gown and offered words of praise for her poise and grace. Her fiancé remained attentive, guiding her through the crowd, sharing smiles, and offering reassurance. These acts, simple yet significant, reinforced the idea that love and support could transform challenges into triumphs, and that resilience was often nurtured through community and care. The bride reflected on the significance of the day. The morning's incident, once a source of fear and anxiety, had become a testament to her inner strength, the support of loved ones, and the power of resilience. She realized that life would continue to present challenges, but she now carried a deeper understanding of her own capabilities, a stronger sense of self-worth, and an appreciation for the love and support that surrounded her. The day had transformed from a potential moment of humiliation into a powerful narrative of courage, grace, and triumph as the night drew toward its end. The couple took a moment to step outside, away from the crowd, and gaze at the stars. The bride felt a profound sense of peace, knowing that she had navigated the day with strength, dignity, and love. She understood that the events of the morning, though painful, had revealed her resilience and deepened her appreciation for the people who truly cared for her. The trials she had faced had become a source of empowerment, reinforcing the importance of courage, kindness, and the support of a loving community. Her fiancé held her close, whispering words of love and admiration. "You are incredible," he said softly. "Today you showed more courage and strength than anyone could imagine. I am honored to walk through life with you." The bride smiled, feeling the warmth of his words and the depth of their shared connection. She realized that true happiness was not simply about wealth, status, or appearances, but about love, resilience, and the ability to face life's challenges with grace. The couple returned to the reception, where the final moments of celebration unfolded. Guests danced, laughed, and shared heartfelt congratulations, creating an atmosphere of warmth, joy, and unity. The bride moved through the crowd with ease, fully embracing the moment, her spirit unburdened by fear or resentment. She recognized that the day's events had strengthened her, revealing the depth of her resilience and the power of love and support in overcoming adversity. The stepmother, now subdued and increasingly irrelevant, watched from a distance. Her attempts to dominate the day and assert control had failed, and the bride's triumph was evident to all. The contrast between the bride's grace and the stepmother's frustration highlighted the transformative power of resilience, courage, and genuine support. The bride had emerged victorious, not through confrontation or revenge, but through composure, strength, and the unwavering love of those around her. As the night came to a close, the bride and groom shared a quiet moment together. Reflecting on the day's events and the journey ahead, they spoke of love, partnership, and the importance of supporting each other through challenges. The bride realized that the true triumph of the day was not only the successful completion of the wedding, but the demonstration of resilience, grace, and the enduring power of love. The morning's trials had become a testament to the strength of the human spirit, the value of kindness, and the importance of community. With the celebrations winding down, the couple prepared to step into their new life together. The bride felt a profound sense of gratitude for the support she had received, the resilience she had discovered, and the love that surrounded her. The events of the day had reinforced the idea that true strength lay not in dominance or malice, but in courage, kindness, and the ability to rise above adversity. She understood that life would continue to present challenges, but she now carried the knowledge that she could face them with dignity, grace, and unwavering love. The final moments of the evening were filled with quiet reflection, shared smiles, and gentle laughter. The bride looked around at the faces of friends, family, and loved ones, recognizing the profound impact of their support. She realized that the day had not only celebrated a union of love, but it also celebrated resilience, courage, and the triumph of grace over cruelty. The hot tea incident, once a source of fear and humiliation, had become a defining moment that revealed her strength and the power of love to overcome adversity.